Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream on Professional Genealogist Reacts. I am Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger, and I know we're starting quite a bit later than we usually do today. So I actually took my mom out to lunch today, so figured let me start this a bit later so I'm not trying to rush around. And also I figured let me see what the crowd's like a little bit later, because I know I've been doing mostly 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see how it goes. I know a lot of the people in Europe are probably a little disappointed because it's real early in the morning there. It's, midnight at best. But let me go through and do all the typical hellos. I do see we kind of have a little bit later of a crowd than usual, but maybe we'll see it grow a bit more now that we've actually started. So I see Deb's Crockart. I don't know. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Oh, don't want to go out of focus there. On the starting block, ready to go, even though it's 2 hours early. So you've been here for a while. Hopefully you're still here. Who knows? And Laquita, I definitely turned on notification bell. Well, hopefully you're still here too, because I see that's from 513. So we have Weeping Scorpion from Faroe Islands. Hello, everyone, here to represent the small endogamous societies. Sean, we have here. We have Anna Tommaso from Western New York. And then we have Nicholas Nolenberg. Hello, my mother is the person with the DNA match 522 centimorgans across 16 segments. My grandfather's results just came back, and he only shares 650 centimorgans, 16 segments with the same person. Maybe not my mother's half-first cousin. Yeah, it sounds like it's probably something a bit different, and this can happen because at least what it seems to be is that your mother has inherited the majority of whatever this DNA is that your grandfather also shares with this cousin. So when she inherited the DNA from her father, when the recombination happened, the recombination that made her included all of those same 16 segments that he has, although in much smaller amounts. So there was, recombination points that cut it down, but only by 130 centimorgans. Yeah. So that is quite interesting, and it does give you a much better idea of how closely related they are. And, if you were thinking about half first cousin, now I'm sure you're thinking a bit more further out because grandfather's matching at a similar amount. So, yeah, good luck. We have Anna Tomaso from Western New York. We have Rosie here. Hello, Rosie. We have Karen. Hello, everybody watching from Israel. Hello, Karen. Thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. We have Debs, who was the one here from 4 o'clock. So good to see that you are still here with us and in the UK. So it's, I guess it's about midnight for y'all, isn't it? DJ's Variety Channel, a familiar user on the stream. Good to have you here. We have Scorpion. Hello, glad to catch a stream watching from Alberta, Canada. Yeah, I'm hoping that doing this a little bit later, I'm going to catch a lot of people that aren't usually able to catch my earlier streams. Deb's Bournemouth. Okay, Bournemouth. Very cool. Very cool. We have Texas Game Mom coming in from small town Texas. Another familiar face here. We have my mom, Sandy. Hello. We have Emerson Cordova. Hello from Houston. Maven expecting a new crowd today. Yes, definitely Maven. And Maven is another one of the very, very common people we have on here, and part of our Discord server, which is a very active community. So if you have a lot of genealogy questions, you just kind of want to interact with a lot of other genealogists, it's especially a place where I've found that there are a lot of younger genealogists. Like I'd say the majority of the people on our Discord server are, I guess, probably under 30 years old, although there's still a good amount of people over 30 years old. But it's a great place. And if I see Charlie's here, but if I see someone post the link, I'll put that up there. We have Daniel coming in, popping in to say hello. It's late here in the UK, so we'll pick up in the morning. Completely understand, Daniel, but we'll have more just like this for you. All right, I see we have a ton of people saying hello, so I'm going to just click through a whole bunch. Hello to everybody. And Chroma Prime from Kansas City, Missouri on Twitch. So if you don't know, we're also streaming on Twitch. Charlie, good midnight. Is that a map of Livorno? No, it is not. A lot of the people that map is of are probably getting to sleep right now. Although I guess Livorno would be just an hour ahead of there. So yeah, thank you, Gina. Yeah, thank you, everyone. So we've got lots and lots of people coming in. Let's see. Curious what experts would make of 3 matches: 525, 339, 156. All are siblings, 21 to 30. I'm 43. I'm thinking my dad's father may have had a child. Yeah, I will say those are not the centimorgans you'd expect if they were a sibling or even a half sibling. You'd expect much more than that. So at those rates, you're looking at something much more further out. So I'm sure we'll get into the shared centimorgan project on DNA Painter at some point, which basically is where you can kind of see where all of those would go. But being that they're all siblings, it kind of gives you a variety of an idea of what's going on. But, with the relative that has the highest amount, that really gives you the best idea, because it might be that those other siblings they just didn't inherit as much of the DNA. But like the first person showed in that first question we answered, quick question we answered, it could be that sibling that you're sharing 525 centimorgans with is actually inheriting a large majority of what their parent that you're related to would get that from. So what you could do is start, if their siblings, obviously, start building out their tree if possible and see what you can find. So, all right, let's keep clicking through all these all these people here. We have more people coming in from Twitch. Color Me Ruby. Welcome, welcome. So lots and lots of people here. Lot of familiar names and faces. Historical map, London, 1860. You are correct. This is the map of London from 1860. My family moved to London from Amsterdam in 1861. So this would have been pretty similar to what it would have been like for them. So for everyone who's not familiar with the streams, I always have an old map behind me that I change every stream, and it's always related to some sort of family history of mine, usually trying to correlate to my actual history, as best possible to when they lived there, my ancestors. So, all right, so many people saying hello. Okay, here we go. Charlie giving us the Discord server. Please join our Discord server. It's very active. There's the information. So does that mean that over 40, I'm one of the oldest on Discord? Possibly. I think we have some folks in the Discord that are like 50s, 60s, but I'm not 100% sure how many we do have. But I've definitely found that a large majority of the server, especially those who are more on the active side or on the younger side. So yeah, the 30s up or the rarer on the Discord, but we still invite everybody. Let's see. I meant their dad has an unknown father, so I thought their dad might be my dad's half brother. I'm having my aunt tested. That could be possible. You'd have to look at the Shared Sense Morgan Project stuff. I wouldn't know right off the top of my head. I'd have to look at that and see. But yeah, if you're talking about their unknown father being your half uncle, basically, I think that would line up because then they'd be about half first cousins with you. So I think that makes sense. Okay, yeah, let's see. We got a lot of. Okay, I think I'm just gonna jump into the questions. Okay, I see one question here. Let's see if we can answer this. Do you have any idea why my grandpa has a different paternal haplogroup? It automatically connected me to him, so he's related. Just the haplogroup is different. So I guess it depends on where you're getting the haplogroups. Like if you're getting a haplogroup from a different site than what your grandfather's getting it from, then a good part of that could possibly be that it's just the different sites will give you the different downstream subclades. So basically, haplogroups just a really fancy old family tree for the world, just using that patrilineal line, the using the Y chromosome. And so as long as yours is downstream from his, then it should be, basically downstream from his being that, your grandfather that you're talking about is your father's father. So you should be inheriting his Y chromosome, and then you should be getting something similar. There is always a possibility that there was a mutation between you and your grandfather, or even multiple mutations. They do happen. That's how we come up with these haplogroup trees. But I'm guessing that it's on the same site based on what you're saying, that it matched together. So if it's on the same site, the other thing to consider is what site are you testing and when did you test? So like if it's 23andMe, they have different version chips. So if you tested like a few years ago, the version chip that you may have tested on may have been one of the older ones. Right now, I think they do V5 testing. So you can usually look and see, are you V2, V3, V4? And then depending on that, that may change the reading. But then if it's family tree DNA that you're doing it through, where you're doing Y-DNA testing, that may differ depending on, are you both doing the same level test of Y-DNA? So a lot of possibility, lots of possibility to it. All right, let's see what else. Okay, let's jump into the questions. And for those who are not familiar with how we work this, let's see, are we on the right one? There we go. So basically, we have the Reddit where if you want to go and post questions, post it here. And the way that I decide on what questions I answer during the streams is basically I do the top of all time, and then I go to see what's the top ones that I have yet to answer. So if you go to Reddit, I can't talk. So if you go to Reddit and you see a question you'd like to have answered on the stream, then upvote that, because whatever gets upvoted goes higher in the list. And so it'll be a mix of stuff. So like the first question, I've already kind of looked at what we're going to look into. So like the first question that we're going to look into is from 22 days ago, but then the next question is going to be from over a year ago. And then the next one is going to be from a little bit even further from that. So there's going to be a mixture of stuff. So we have a lot of questions. There's like over 300 unanswered questions on the Reddit, and new ones being added all the time. So don't feel, like if you're putting on a new question, it won't be answered. But, if you end up putting on a question that basically has kind of probably been answered a lot of times, you may not get a lot of upvotes from the community. So, I'm going to try to answer as many questions as possible. This is my way to get to the people that constantly email me or like, can you look into our tree, or can you build this out? And, even folks that email me, they're like, I think we could be related, or, could you research and see if we are, it's like, I'm actually, I'm blowing off emails from different companies that are trying to hire me because of my limited time. So it's like, if I'm blowing off those emails, I really don't have time for other emails. So this is my way to kind of get to that kind of stuff. So let's jump into these questions that I've kind of gone over, I guess, the stuff with that. Oh, and the other housekeeping thing, I will try to answer questions in the chat. You've probably already seen me answer a few at this point. I don't guarantee that I will answer the questions in the chat, but if you are on YouTube and do the super chat option or whatever, it's basically a paid thing. I do guarantee that I will answer those on stream. Part of it just being that when you do that, it actually kind of tags the chat, so I can actually go back to it and always see it, whereas the other ones get lost in the chat. Okay, hopefully all of that housekeeping stuff is all good. So let's jump into our first question here. And this is from Unique Blueberry, who I think we actually had a question from answered in the last one. So they're lucking out. They're getting a lot of upvotes apparently. So, hi, Genie Vlogger. Have you heard of the Low German Mennonites? I have a great grandmother from that community. Her parents came to America in 1875 from Karlswald, Volhynia in Ukraine. They also have a lot of endogamy. Also, is it possible the Low German Mennonites could have some distant Jewish ancestry? And then they link to this gameo.org site, which is like a wiki sort of thing, it looks like. And just talking about this, which is in the Rivne Oblast. So I thought this would be interesting to talk about because I am very familiar with the availability of Ukrainian records. So I thought this would be perfect, especially to talk about. So before I jump into some of that, they did give this, someone gave this because I'm actually not really that familiar with German Mennonites. So this may help give some context to why German Mennonites would be in then Russia. Catherine the Great was German born, the daughter of an obscure German prince, which basically we're talking about the same story of why the Volga Germans went, which I don't know if the German Mennonites were Volga Germans or if that was something separate. I don't really know that much. But anyway, when she took the throne, Russia's treasury has been depleted by the 7 Years' War with Prussia. Catherine secularized the land belonging to the clergy, which was about a third of the country. Knowing that Germans were hardworking and good farmers, she invited her former countrymen to come live on the land. This wasn't just a thoughtful invitation. She needed tax-paying citizens to replenish the royal coffers. She also hoped that inviting foreigners would bring progress and culture that she felt Russia lacked. She promised them cheap land, exemption from military service, the right to self-govern, religious freedom, freedom of language, and tax breaks. As many as 30,000 German families took her up on her offer, and things were good for a while. Yeah, and part of that was because the biggest part, exemption from military service, which is what ended up biting them in the end. Tsarina Catherine died in 1796, and each successor whittled away a bit at the benefits she had bestowed upon the Germans. Russian reforms in the later part of the 19th century led to changes that meant the German colonists would no longer be allowed to self-govern. These reforms would have affected your ancestors and probably had a lot to do with why they came to America. So I don't, as I mentioned, this is the same story as the Volga Germans, but I don't know exactly if this is, something tangential to them or would be considered as part of the Volga German story. So if anyone knows, let me know. But they basically, it kind of overlaps, So in terms of records, now we're talking about areas of Ukraine. So, Volga Germans are called Volga Germans in big part because they settled around the Volga River in Russia, whereas Ukraine is much further west than the Volga River, like actually quite further. Let's pull up Google Earth just to show everybody. So with Rivne, I'm pretty sure it's kind of westernish north. Yeah, so it's right here. Rivne Oblast is this, and then there is the city Rivne. So that's there, and then the Volga River is, where is it? Is this it? I think this is the Volga, isn't it? All right, let's just do it. Okay, yeah, right on it. So you can see how there's a Volga Germans over here, and then these German Mennonites over here. But remember, we're talking about when this was the Russian Empire. So, you had a lot of different stuff going on. And I don't remember the exact year, but then you also had all the, Lithuanian Poland Commonwealth and the Austro-Hungarian Empire and just, all the different, entities of governments throughout the years. But yeah, so I don't know if anyone really knows that much. Let me see what the chat says. Okay. See a few questions. I don't want to split from what I'm talking about right now. Interesting. Barbara Heck says the Mennonite Heritage Archives are located in my city, Winnipeg, Manitoba, which I'm guessing there was probably a lot of Mennonite settling in that area. Most Mennonites were located in colonies further south, close to the Dnieper River around Zaporozhye. So yeah, the Dnieper River is like, I'm not going to try to find it. Oh yeah, of course, it's the one that goes straight through Kiev. So yeah, so still much further west. Yeah. So okay, yeah, just interesting stuff that I guess this is the way I research whenever I'm starting to look into new family trees and starting to build ancestries that are like, okay, I'm not familiar with these German Mennonites. Let me kind of get an idea of what's going on, especially in context with what I already know. It's always funny to me whenever I get comments of people like, you should really read up on this and you should really read up on that. And it's like, I'm constantly reading up on everything. And no matter what, there's always going to be spots that I just don't know because there's so many different population groups and specific migrations, and it all ties together. But it's really amazing once you start doing so many different genealogies and family trees where you really see just how many there are. And I mean, I've been doing other people's family trees beyond my own since I got really into this in 2009. So over 15 years that I've been building other people's trees, not just my own. And I still am constantly finding all sorts of new ancestries that I've just never researched that much. So perfect example here, German Mennonites, although it's still very closely tangential to what I have. So the big thing that I want to talk about is we are going to talk about the records available. Now, some of the question was could have some distant Jewish ancestry. Now, I don't really know 100%, how well connected these communities would have been, but based on where they definitely were living near Jewish communities and would have likely, in my mind, interacted with them. So it's very possible that you may have Jewish ancestry, but just basing it off of that they were low German Mennonites, I don't really know enough to confidently say which way. But one of the sites I want to talk about right off the bat, because we're talking about the Rivne Oblast, is this site, the Saul Kaplan Foundation, which really is focused more on Jewish records. But one of the things is that they have a lot of different communities and things where you can find out what is available for areas in Ukraine. It's mostly Jewish community stuff, but can also link you to kind of the general stuff of what's going on. But there's also a researcher, Victoria Himshit, who is specifically, let's see if I can just find it. She's specifically working on Rivna. And so you can see a list of available records kept by the archive. So it doesn't seem like there's any links, but this is something that you can at least see and look through. You know, is there anything in here that might correlate to something with your family? Oh, everyone put some dog emojis in the chat for my dog's barking. Oh, okay, yeah, where am I go? Okay, so going back here to the Rovno district, we do have some other things going on. So you can see that there's an interactive map here that they do. Like, this is a really cool website. And so let's see. Metric books. So we have vital records, and these are 1880s, and they left 1875. So we do have the possibility that they may show up in some of these records, possibly. We do have the specific town. So that's another part of it, too, is we know it's Carolswald in Volhynia. So that's going to help us. But let's see. I'm mainly trying to get now to, let's just go this way. Now, a lot of this stuff is for Rivna is here on this site, Saul Kaplan, and you can kind of go through all that stuff. But what I'm trying to get to is the project page for Alex Krakowski, which is Alex Krakowski is someone who I've talked about in a lot of my videos about Ukrainian records, because he, for a while there, was suing a lot of the archives and even government entities in Ukraine because they were actually doing things that were illegal in blocking archive access, which was guaranteed by the Ukrainian constitution. He won a ton of court cases. So highly recommend watching those videos on my channel if you haven't seen them. They're on the main channel, Genie Vlogger, not this channel, Professional Reacts. But what he's also been doing beyond that is also digitizing all the records. So things have kind of calmed down a bit in terms of the court stuff, although, he's not in Ukraine right now. And, there's still a lot of projects in Ukraine outside of what Alex was doing in working and digitizing stuff, including projects by Family Search. So, okay, that wasn't what I was looking for. Let's see if we can find stuff here. All right, let's see if I can find it another way. Okay. Is this it? Oh, come on. Okay. So, here we go. This is the Wikimedia projects, and we're going to go to archive. So I'm going to put this in chat. And this is one of the best sources for digitized records right now. Now, there's stuff beyond that, which you can kind of find by going to the links down below. But basically, you can try to find what might have been digitized. So, okay, so we have one here that cuts right before. Oh, look, okay, so we've got a lot of stuff here. Let's translate that. So we've got a lot of stuff here. We have Volin province, which I believe that's, yep. So 1797, 1920. Let's see if we can find something that might be really military hospital. So yeah, so I mean we have a lot of stuff, but just to show you some of the books, so let's look at this one because this is 1797. So Revision Tales of Christians and Jews of the Rivne district. So what Revision Tales are, these are revision lists. And revision lists are very interesting census records because they're census records that give you information about what the family was like during the last census. So they were talking about came to America 1875. So we have this additional tales of the Jews. Yeah, they're not going to be there. So probably this one right here. They may find it. Now, this is the problem is you don't always know what's available there. But let's just say that maybe it is in here. Basically, with 1870, that's what we'd be looking for is something where it's as close to the family that they can get. But if they have a lot of family members they know of that were born in the 1840s or something, or earlier, they may not have as many issues. But you just pull up the book, and then it's literally the full thing. Is that only 22 pages? Oh, it's only 22 pages. It's actually a small book. So you can just scroll through it. And so this is the records. So this is the revision list. So here we've got the family number. So this is the family number, which they will then be referred to as in the next list. They'll tell you what the family number is then. And so then you can see the family listed, how old they are, any notes about them. And they may be able to find their family in here. I know this area of Ukraine is pretty difficult, so they may have to look a bit further. But these are some of the really good resources in terms of taking the research further. But the difficult thing here is none of this is indexed. It's obviously not in English, so assuming that they are English speakers, they're going to have to learn how to read Cyrillic language. So I can barely, yeah, I'm not even going to give it a try. I can recognize some letters here. I can read printed script a lot better. So what is that? Reviskai Skaska, or whatever. So I can kind of read it. Not super well. So, but you need to be able to at least learn how to read it to be able to recognize kind of basic letters. So here, this B, I always know it's going to sound like a V, unless it's like a weird looking B with a line on the top. Just things to learn to really get to it. So hopefully that kind of helps with this, and possibly finding records that are out there. So, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, Weeping Scorpion. Yes, and more coming out each year too. In fact, I've been to about 3. Oh, you're talking about something else. You guys, I thought you were talking about this. All right. Let's see. A beautiful penmanship. Hey, Brian. Good to have you here. We've got Brian Nash, How We Got Here Genealogy, who has a wonderful YouTube channel, which kind of focuses on Canadian genealogy and Scottish genealogy, and I think some other stuff. So check him out. Shout out for you, Brian. Yeah, yet to see a genealogy site virus, but Old Find a Grave had pop-up ads. Yeah, I mean, with the Wikimedia stuff and TKF Gen, I've never had any issues. I mean, especially with these Ukrainian records. This is literally Ukrainian Wikimedia. That's where they're posting all of this stuff. They're basically putting it all there, and then there are some. Let's see if we can go back. Maybe we can find a link to the. Maybe is that it? The actual. Okay, so yeah, state archive. Sometimes you can, if the archive itself. So let's see. Okay, so like we have some stuff here that's other stuff. What was their village? Carolswald. Volhynia. So yeah, so we don't have that much really going on for Rivna. But like sometimes there are some that, have their own websites. I'm trying to see if I can find any. You can see, look at how many records there are. Now, if it's red, the record's not digitized yet. Or it may be digitized, but it hasn't been uploaded yet because they were able to digitize stuff a lot faster than they were able to upload it. So, all right, I can't find it. Well, did not mean to do that. Whoops-a-daisy. All right, that's what I wanted to do. All right, so let's close this stuff out. Mark that as reviewed. This question was reviewed during the professional genealogist. Let's capitalize that. Reacts live stream on February 20th, 2024. All right. So we've got that. And now I think, let's see. Where am I at? Okay, there we go. Yeah. So this was the next question. And then let me see. All right. So, help. Why is it that the let me get a little sip of drink right quick. Excuse me, everybody. Excuse me. Oh. Why is it that through several DNA kits, I'm estimated 45 to 50% Iberian, but I do not have any matches from there? What else can I do to possibly get more information on migrating ancestors? I've hit a brick wall and seem to have run out of documents on family search, ancestry, etc. And then our wonderful, illustrious admin, Matt, MRJB3, which, come on, pop up, go out. Okay. Says, you don't have any matches from there? Wow, that's rough. But I find that strange because I have around 100 Iberian matches on my heritage alone, and I don't have any Iberian ethnicity myself. To answer your question, I think more info would be needed, and that's kind of the key here. Where have you tested? How are you checking for the ethnicity of your matches? As for the brick wall issue, I feel your pain. How far back have you got? Do you have subscriptions anywhere? Have you exhausted the census data available and checked the trees of others? Lots of questions. If your question is for Genie Vlogger to answer, add some more information here. But if you'd like to discuss with other like-minded members of the Genie Vlogger viewers community, you can join us on the Discord server, and definitely join us on the Discord server. Let's see if I can find this. Ooh, I found it right here. And here's how you can join us on the Discord server. So there's the information. I know we've got a few people watching on Twitch and Facebook, so they're not going to see that link directly on YouTube. But it is linked in the description on YouTube. So yeah, there we go. Okay. So the big thing is, yeah, we need to have more information. for a lot of stuff. Like a big question I have is, oh, sorry, getting a little bit of heartburn, people. All right. The biggest question that I have is they say, but I do not have any matches from there. So are they basically saying they don't have any matches that have Spanish ancestry in their family trees? Or are they saying I don't have any matches that are also getting this Iberian reading? Because also, depending on what type of ancestry they may have ancestry that may be so distantly Iberian that everyone in that community is getting a good amount of Iberian, but being able to trace that back would be very difficult. So like, what does this person know about their family tree? If they're like, oh, well, I'm actually someone, who lives in South America somewhere, or Central America, or the Caribbean, or, it's like, okay, well, kind of makes sense. You'd probably get 45 to 50% Iberian. And then the other thing is as Matt mentioned, depending on where you've tested, that could change how you look at things. Because if you're testing on MyHeritage has a lot more people on their database who still live in Europe. And as Matt mentioned, he has 100 matches that are Iberian on MyHeritage alone. So that could be it. If you're only testing on Ancestry and maybe other places that don't have quite as big of a representation in the database, looking at MyHeritage, that may be very worthwhile. It sounds like you put into a lot, because you say, several DNA kits, but several may, I always think several is like 3 to 4, but, some people may think of several as, 2 or 3 or, I don't know. So it's, it's possible that there's a lot of different things going on. At 45 to 50%, I highly doubt that that's any sort of like a false reading or anything like that. But it may be also with European ancestry, there is just kind of complicated reading difficulties. So yeah, unfortunately, the biggest thing is just we really do need to know more. This is an old post. I mean, this is from December 5th, 2022. So we're looking at over a year. Yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and edit post flare. And then, if this person posts, if this person who posted this OP is seeing this, I would suggest, if you do have more information, make a new post. And if you do have something intriguing that the community is going to really want me to answer and get further into, everyone upvote that, obviously, if you see it. So let's see. This question was answered during the professional. I always miss capitalizing that G. February 20th, 2024. Comments. So, okay. Now I need to do that. Okay, let me check chat, because I see there's a good amount of stuff going on. Okay, DJ's Variety Channel. So you have built many family trees for celebrities on stream. Is building Mr. Beast tree a possibility on stream? As I would consider his popularity more than those of the YouTuber tree series. So I have already built Mr. Beast's family tree. It took me a while, especially because his dad was quite elusive to identify. And it took me some, very in-depth research techniques in terms of finding living people. So it involved multiple sites. And, some of it was Facebook, some of it was been verified, some of it was actually the white pages. And then, I utilized a few other record sets. And so I was able to actually build out a tree for him. And I actually found out that he's a close relative to Morgan Spurlock. And I posted about it on Twitter, and Morgan Spurlock saw it, liked it, and actually followed me. I don't know if he still follows me. People can look and see. But basically, the way that I've put it is that I didn't want to make any videos or content about it unless I got Mr. Beast's approval. So the way that I've run the whole YouTuber family tree series is I'm only doing it if I get the approval. So every single YouTuber that's been in my series, I have spoken to about this. Pretty much all of them have done DNA tests and then given me the access or have had me get them do DNA tests. So like with Max Miller, I'm still working on a lot of his stuff, and we actually just had a bunch of family members for him do some DNA tests. And we're going to do some really, really in-depth, fun genetic genealogy stuff that hopefully will find some really cool stuff in that family tree. But anyway, with the Mr. Beast stuff, I've like sent the team messages. I've tagged them in Twitter posts and stuff, and been, I've kind of said like, please give me the permission, and like, but I've never gotten it. So, the way that I like to tell people is that if you really do want me to do that stuff, you should definitely, kind of post that, share it, say, Mr. Beast, give Jarrett your permission to do it. Because he has some really interesting ancestry, and the way that I do it, I'm sure everyone that's seen my videos, you've probably seen that, like, like I call the parents that are living family members, that'd be like, Grandpa Durnil or Papa Beat, or things like that. So it's like, the last name, but you don't know the actual name, and really keep anonymity for them. And I know with Mr. Beast, that's kind of a big thing. I've seen a lot of podcasts that he's done, because, I'm a YouTuber. I want to learn how to better my channel. And so, I know he's talked about kind of like being very private, not wanting to involve his family that much. Yeah. So it'd be cool to have him, give me the permission. I'd love to have him just like see one of my episodes, especially one of the recent ones, just be like, look, this is what I'm trying to do. Like, it won't even really focus on your parents or your grandparents or anything like that, unless you want me to. It'll focus more on like more distant ancestry and stuff like that. But that would be really cool. So I've already built the tree, but yeah, that's why I have yet to do it. And I built that tree like 2.5 years ago. So I thought about doing his for one of the Friday streams, but then I decided that for those reasons of privacy and all that, I didn't want to. Okay. GenieNet has European and database, and I get Iberian and French matches in there. True, but they are discontinuing the DNA match stuff. Like they're making it so you can't upload anymore, and yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, that's so. Gina said that Jared's already built Mr. Beast tree. Danger Girl said I think that was Mr. Beat, which I did build Mr. Beat's tree for YouTuber family trees, so you can actually go watch those episodes. Which one was about his Volga Germany ancestry, but even more, you can also go and watch. He did 2 live streams where he reacted to all of the episodes. So that was when I was doing YouTuber family trees as a season. So I did like 7 episodes in a row. But when you watch those after you've watched the more recent ones, you'll be like, oh, wow, that was a lot less production going on. So you can kind of see why they're taking a lot longer. And hopefully it makes them more interesting and more widely intriguing. Interesting. There's a YouTuber way out of your alley named Crispy Concords who mentions wanting to make a family tree in almost all his videos. What does Crispy Concords? What's their content? Crispy Concords. 3.21 million. Let's see. What's their YouTube channel about? You have found the greatest channel on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I should hit them up or tell them to hit me up. I've never heard about their channel before, but yeah. Let me. I don't know. Is anyone else familiar with them? Crispy Concords. Thank you very much, Brian, for that. So, yeah, I guess I'll keep that up, and maybe I'll watch a couple of videos a little later. So speaking of watching videos, one of the things I think I'm going to do with the stream, so we have, it's 7:46 where I'm at. So I'm thinking I'm going to answer one more question. But what I'm going to try to do with this stream, we're going to see how it goes because I don't want to mess up any copyright stuff, is I want to do a watch along with the new Finding Your Roots episode. So I won't be airing the episode, and I won't be... you hopefully won't be able to hear any audio or video. I might actually have to put like a very low music thing in the background because some of the music stuff I paid for, but basically be a watch along. So for those who can watch along, you'd have to watch, turn on your TV and watch PBS with me. But I figured I'd give that a try since this kind of is going to overlap with it. So. See, never heard of Mr. Crispy, but you should hit him up. Maven said, I'm going to be honest, it'd be a bit awkward because he's a meme rapper and TikTok reactor. Oh, I mean, that might not be too bad. I mean, I've focused mostly on history and educational YouTubers so far, just because I figured their audience correlate a lot with mine, and their general interest in history and stuff would probably lead them to have a general interest in, let me have my family tree done by a professional. But if he's already asking about having a professional doing it, and, even if he's a meme channel and stuff, I feel like that, those are kinds of people that they can kind of get serious about this stuff, especially if it does really affect them. And, I'd make my own video the way I make my videos. And if they wanted to react how they wanted to, they could. So, you could even say Drew Durnell is kind of a meme reactor. He's just kind of a geography history meme reactor. So, yeah. Okay. So, let's see. What do we want to do? Okay. Actually, we're going to look at this meme. So this is a meme from OK Flamingo. So normal people, third to fifth cousin, very distant. I have nothing to do with them. Me on my heritage just found a third to fifth cousin, even from Finland. Wow, I just found a close relative. Yeah, I definitely feel that. It's like when you get basically it's when you get one of those kind of DNA matches who's exotic in comparison to the other matches that you get. It's like, you have so many third and fifth cousins and they all have the same sort of ancestry. And then you find one that's in Finland and you're like, whoa, that's so cool. So yeah, that's a good one. Wow, from 2 years ago. All right. Meme reviewed. All right, so let's do this. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. I did kind of look at this one already. All right. So this one's actually a little bit older, October 15th, 2022. Is that big enough for everyone? Let me make it a little bit bigger. All right. Dear Genie Vlogger, I love your YouTube videos. Thank you very much. My sister and I recently got MyHeritage DNA test done, and the DNA matches confirm my family research, which is nice since I see a lot of rookie mistakes on various sites, and it is good to know I'm not making many myself. Thus far for me, it hasn't broken any roadblocks, but I was spurred on to get the DNA tested due to the other distant relatives clearing 2 roadblocks. Okay, that was a lot of stuff I didn't necessarily have to read, but okay. My sister and I are, as expected, full sisters, although what we share is on the low side at 2,585.7 centimorgans or 36.5%. Yeah, that is on the low side. We have also got vastly different ethnicity results, which is interesting to say the least. And honestly, before I even continue, it's not really that interesting in terms of the sense that you already know that you're sharing a lot lower of an amount of DNA than most sisters would share. Not saying that you're not full sisters, but as you already know, it is kind of a, variation of things, and 36.5 is lower. So if it's, you're sharing less DNA overall, then it certainly makes sense that your DNA results in the end, your ethnicity results would seem quite different. So here we say my results came back as 62.4% Scandinavian, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh 28%, and Italian 9.6%. So we've got very typical Northwestern European with a little bit higher of an Italian than you would expect. Every once in a while you might get Northwestern Europeans that get, like a couple of percentages of Italian, or Southern European that may be kind of false readings. But once you get up to 9.6%, I think that's pretty indicative that you probably have, great grandparents or maybe even a second great grandparent of full Italian ancestry, or, something like that. Maybe even a mixture of different ones. But then for your sister, she got 71.5% English, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh 13.9%, which is pretty similar in terms of what you both got. I mean, the numbers are obviously a little different, but Northwestern European, it's not untypical to get those mixes. But then we have Baltic 12.1%, which is a little on the higher end of Baltic, with Eastern European 2.5% along with that. So let's continue before I answer. Okay, I question my heritage about our vastly different results, even though we could each get a different 50% share of DNA from our parents. We only share one ethnic group, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh, maximum of 13.9%. So the other 22.6% doesn't concern ethnicity. I've been able to trace and confirm the birth locations of all of my 16 second great grandparents. And that ancestor is supposed to be connected to a well-known Crimean War sergeant, plausibly his sister from Shropshire. I have been able to go back a few more generations with several lines. Most of the ethnicity results aren't especially surprising. My father's father came from Sussex, his mother from Suffolk. My fourth generation Australian mother has roots that can be traced to lowland Scotland, Yorkshire, Devonshire, and possibly Shropshire. I gather my sister's Baltic heritage could be Viking heritage, like my Scandinavian heritage. However, my Italian heritage is a bit of a puzzle. I suspect it must involve more than one ancestor back beyond the paper trail. Does it date back to the Roman occupation of Britain, perhaps? I mean, possibly, but doubtful. Although I don't think Roman ancestry features that strongly in the British population. I also wonder if the interpretation of my results would have been different had my first kit not been lost and the results from my replacement kit became available about 2 months after my sister's. So I will say for that last part, I really don't think that made much of a difference. There's a 1% margin of error with these tests. So it would have been a 1% margin difference technically. That's basically the idea, is if you tested twice with the same company, when they read every spot in your DNA, there's going to be a 1% of those spots where they just misread it. So when you do two different tests through the same company, technically, they'll be slightly different because both of them have those errors, which would make them different. But otherwise, it would make it pretty similar overall. With the Italian, as I said, 9.6% correlates best to a great grandparent. 12.5% is usually what you expect. So it'd be kind of on the lower end of things, but it could also be a second great grandparent, but that's just assuming that we're looking at one recent ancestor through one line with Italian ancestry. But as you mentioned, it could be multiple. So, you can think of it like this, like, maybe it's through your dad's side or something like that, but it's that, not that it's a great grandfather through your dad's side, but it's actually two separate second great grandfathers, or maybe it's further back, or, something like that. So it's not just through your, like purely paternal line, like your dad's dad, but you'll have Italian through your dad's dad, and you have Italian through your dad's mom's side. And so then you'd be looking further back if that's the case. And so there is a possibility that with 9.6%, it is kind of a misread in a sense that, you don't really have an ancestor within recent times who has Italian ancestry, but it's more of a representation of you live in an area that has some sort of distant connection to Italians, maybe Roman or something. And I don't know. I think that's kind of doubtful, but it'd probably be more of like a, big migration of Italians going to a specific area in England and, the 1700s or the 1600s or something like that. But it's certainly possible within the genealogical time frame that you could figure this out. But it is quite interesting that you are getting that Italian and then your sister's getting the Baltic and Eastern European. Granted that, you both have a very, small amount of shared DNA for sisters, that is. So, not too surprising. I don't know where you've tested. I wonder if did you say, yeah, MyHeritage? That's the other thing too, is, just to be completely upfront with MyHeritage results, is as much as I love that company because they have some of the best genetic genealogy tools, the biggest black spot for them is the fact that their admixture results are the most widely said to be off from what people know of their family trees. So it does sound like, from what you do know, which if you know all of your 16 second great grandparents, that's doing pretty well, but you still can trace back further. Based on what I've said, technically you may already have that Italian ancestor identified, assuming that it truly is from a more recent ancestor, but it could even be much further than that. You just have to keep building out to find it, or it's just something else. But I would highly suggest looking into testing at other sites to see what kind of readings they give your sister and you, because that might show you something very different, and it may be, may be helpful in terms of getting a better idea of it. So one of the big things with MyHeritage is that they don't release their white paper, which is kind of the explanation of here's how we're coming up with things. And it makes it so that it's hard to really get an idea of which population groups are really well read and which population groups maybe have a much higher margin of error in trying to read them. So hopefully that answered this question. I see we're hitting 8 o'clock right now. Let me see what it says. All right. Yeah. So I see a lot of kind of chat. Oh, yeah. Thought I was taking it down. Let's see. Interesting. For Israeli Jews, will DNA testing show the migration from Israel to elsewhere and then back to Israel again? I guess if you're, not technically. It's kind of hard to understand what exactly you're asking. So I guess I'll just kind of answer what I assume you may be asking. So first off, will DNA testing show the migration from Israel to elsewhere? And yes, that can be done through Y-DNA testing. It won't necessarily, I guess it depends on the testing and things like that. It won't, it'll be kind of like certain areas, but basically it'll kind of come back that you'll see that you're connecting with people from the Levant. So like from myself with Y-DNA testing, let me pull up my Y-full. So this is my Y-full right here. So this is my subclade of the family tree. So like me and this person, we share a patrilineal ancestor within about 200 years ago. That's when they were living. Whereas this person and us, we share an ancestor that was living about 1,000 years ago. And then back here with these other groups, all three of us, we share someone who was also maybe about 1,000 years ago, although it possibly formed further. And then each one of these traces up further. So basically you can see, like, for all of us here, tracing back about 1,000 to 1,500 years, all coming out as people who are Jewish. So then we go back and we see, okay, going out even further, these are all still about 1,500, 1,600 years ago, but it could form a little earlier. And still we're seeing a lot of people where, various areas throughout Eastern Europe, but all speaking Yiddish, so indicating possibly Jewish. And then we can keep going back, and then we start to see a little bit of other stuff, but still kind of general what you'd expect areas for people who were Jewish. We see some that are more distant. Then we also see Libya and England. And the way, I should say, what you're seeing with these country flags, this is what that tester knows in terms of the oldest patrilineal ancestor of theirs where they lived. So that England could be that this person's father or their grandfather or something like that. But here, interestingly enough, we see Libya, and we see that this person's speaking Judeo-Arabic, so probably Jewish in Libya. And then we go back further, and then we see we have Qatar And this is going back about 7,000 years or so. And then going back even further, then all of a sudden we have, some Saudi Arabia, still kind of the same general stuff here. And as you go back further, you start to see that correlation with more areas in the Levant and sort of kind of like Western Asia. And then once you get really far back, then you start to really see, this is a lot of North Africa. And then we have like a whole bunch of, Palestinian, which these are, let's see. Yeah. So, Arabic speaking Palestinians. And so you can see like, okay, yeah, with them, they even have within their subclades people in Russia, and just, elsewhere outside of those areas. But then you can see where the big branch of, okay, all of these folks are Jewish. So probably, being that this is Qatar down here, and then we have, this is kind of where we see the first hint of Jewish, we can kind of estimate that, okay, then somewhere around here, this is where we would expect to find that sort of ancestor that would be the progenitor of the Jewish branch. And we can see based on what they're estimating here, that everyone that descends from this, which all seem to be connected to be Jewish for the most part, this person, the most recent common ancestor, there's a 95% chance. Oh, pop up. I hate that it does this. Do it. There we go. 95% chance that they were alive between 2100 years and 1300 years before present, YBP. So the ancestor that all of these people share that was Jewish was living about 2100 years ago, and presumably would be living in the Middle East, because in the Levant, because all of the closest other matches are around, Western Asia, or kind of getting a little bit into North Africa, obviously with this Libya stuff, but that makes a lot of sense knowing the history of, all of the different caliphates and such. But we do get, Iraq and India, and yeah. So, and this is WIFO. This is just one database. So Family Tree has their own tree of this, which I need to get into that. I have done Y DNA testing there, haven't done Big Y yet. So this is the really, really in-depth stuff. So that should hopefully answer your first question. So Y DNA testing, we'll show that. And that's just the purely paternal line. So tracing up my father's 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 father and so on. So, you'll need to find, males in your family with the Y chromosome who are willing to do Y chromosome testing to do that. And they have to be purely patrilineal descendants of the line that you want to look into. Okay. All right. So, let me do the reviewed here. We're going to, hopefully you all are going to have to tell me if you can hear the TV in the background. Hopefully you can't. And for those who aren't yet, be sure to, if you are able to watch PBS, to turn it on, and then you can watch along with me. And we'll see how it goes. I tried to do something like this in the Discord, where I did like a Discord chat thing, but yeah, it's 8:05, so hopefully I'm not missing too much of it yet. Oh, I should probably do that. So, yeah. All right. Everyone needs to tell me, can you hear the TV in the background? And I will be trying to answer some questions as we go along. Just not too much. I do want to watch the show. Can anyone hear that in the background? Oh, you can. Okay. Let's see if we can change this up a bit and make it so that that's not an issue. That's going to make that difficult, but I think we can get by. I think. Okay, well, we're going to try a couple of things. I'm going to put very low. And then actually, you know what? Let's we'll do that one. So, all right, how about now? Can you all hear it? I see. As long as it's not loud enough to hear, so I moved my mic, so hopefully there should be more stuff in the way blocking it. What show is on PBS? So it is Finding Your Roots. It's Finding Your Roots. You can hear it. All right, let's turn up the music a bit then. All right, how about now, everybody? Because I got to make sure I can actually hear the show, but I need to make sure that you all can hear it, or at least make sure that it's not hearable in terms of understandability. Still hear it. Can't understand it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to connect my headphones to my TV, and I don't want to have to go through trying to figure that out right now. I do have a smart TV, and I'm sure I could do it, but okay, yeah. As long as you can't understand really what's being said, I think we should be fine. That's kind of why I'm playing the music over it. So, yeah, as long as it's unintelligible. So, I mean, right now it's just the intro. Should be good as it's low enough. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to turn the music up just a little bit more. Yeah, well, my mic should have background. Let me actually check if I have. Aha! There we go. All right, so I just turned on another setting, and that should have cut out the background. Oh, really good. Now you can't hear it at all. It's the last thing I need is having another stream copyright not stricken, but you know, cool. So yeah, for everyone who is watching in along, I guess put an emoji in chat or something so I know. I'm sure all the people outside of the US aren't able to really watch unless you have a VPN. Yep, Tracy Morgan and Anthony Ramos. You would be correct. No TV. Well, if you go to the PBS app, you can watch it live. So if you have a phone or something like that, you can. Obviously, you don't have to. I mean, if you just want to stare at me watching it while I talk about it, that's fine. So right now, it's just getting into the history of the guests, so I don't want to focus on that. I figured I'd just kind of chat about whatever they kind of find and stuff. Yeah. So that sounds like it'll be fun. Have fun painting. Yeah, free online through the PBS website, although if you're outside of the US, I think it might block it. Yeah, if you live in America. Yeah, not even America, I think just US. So our Canadian friends, I don't know if they can see it. Brian's here from how we got here. At least he was 2 minutes ago. So if you're here, Brian, let me know. Can you actually watch it in Canada? Yeah, so for that one, I'm not actually coming up. I was trying to get them to bring me up, but I'll just be talking over Zoom. So it's been a long time since I've been back to Pittsburgh. So okay, yeah, with VPN. Okay, good enough. So it is the VPN. I really need to get a VPN sponsor for my stuff. I think I'm big enough. And I have the perfect reasoning too. I have such an international audience. So, all right. I know I kind of already mentioned it before, but if anyone doesn't know, or if anyone wants to take some guesses that wasn't here before when I mentioned it, let me know. Oh, I totally didn't realize that was you, Steve. I need to remember that. Okay. I need to note that. The famous Steve Jaron who coined the term Spaceballs relation. And my cousin in like 5 or 6, probably way more ways, but we actually know at least 5 or 6 or something like that. Debs, you are correct. Map of London. Although, aren't you? I think, did you mention you're in the UK? So I'm sure Map of London's pretty familiar. Oh, interesting. For those in Canada, you can do the PBS Passport on Demand viewing service. Oh, not Steve Jaron. You're the secretary. Okay. So it looks like they're going to be getting in at Tracy Morgan's family tree first. I always liked watching a lot of Tracy Morgan skits on SNL. I'm Brian Fellows. So how many people are actually watching along? I don't think I saw anybody actually say they're watching along. Does that mean that everyone's basically just watching me watch? Geez, I ought to do that more often. Just have the TV in the background, tell people what I'm watching, have it all blocked out, no audio, no video, just watch along with me. Watchception. Oh, we got a few people. Oh, Maven, sorry you got to go, but you can always come back and watch along later. Okay, nice. Just download the app. Interesting. So his Morgan name is not a patrilineal name, comes from his great grandmother. Yeah, the National Archives is a highly underutilized source. Kind of funny. I see the numbers dropping off now that I'm starting to watch. I was expecting that. People don't want to watch me necessarily sitting here. Can't do app and YouTube at the same time. Bye. Yeah, sorry. Well, bye. Have a good night. I figured not everyone's going to be able to necessarily watch along, but I was going to watch anyway, so might as well stream it while I do it. Gina, you've got to go too. Well, thank you for being here for a minute. Have fun painting. Wow. Great-grandfather fought in the war. World War I? Do that. Oh wow. Yeah, World War I was definitely rough to fight in, and I found out that a couple of my second great uncles, or I guess were they second great granduncles? Yeah, I think that was it. They fought. I did a video about my great granduncle Abraham Casino, and he fought in the war. Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. It's rough. I would have never been able to fight in the U.S. Army. I'm considered 4F unfit. My grandfather was also considered 4F unfit, and he was actually in a military school, and he graduated and he started training to go into war, and then he ended up being honorably discharged because they realized that he had flat feet and asthma. And so he became 4F unfit, and I think that was something that he was not happy about. But I forgot what it was. I did some sort of thing at school at some point where, it was like a military thing at school. Like it wasn't the president's whatever, with the climbing the rope and stuff. But it was like some other thing. And I remember it was like, oh yeah, based on what you have, you'd be considered 4F unfit. Interesting fact: more Canadians were charged with war crimes in World War I than Germans. Remember, the Germans used mustard gas. Oh, Camo Jan, good to see you here. Guess I'll hop on Ancestry listening in the background. Just ordered a kit a few days ago after finding your channel. Yeah, awesome that your my channel inspired you to get a DNA test. So hopefully that works out well and you're able to really figure out your family ancestry. I don't think I've ever seen Tracy Morgan. Well, actually, you know what? That's a lie. I've seen him emotional because I've seen some of the interviews he did after the crash that he was in, and he was decently emotional in some of those. So. So now we're focusing on Anthony. Yeah, it reminds me, I needed to do my test, send it, bought a while back, but never actually took it. Yeah, that's something that if you wait too long, sometimes the kids, they won't accept them. And I think most of the companies, if that happens, they basically say, hey, this isn't going to work and send you a new one. But I'm not 100% sure. I actually had one of my cousins do a whole genome sequence test from Nebula, but I like held on to it for a while because I was trying to get them to agree to do it first. And then they agreed to do it. And then I sent it to them. And then by that point, it was really late. And they sent it in and they were told that this isn't going to work, but we'll send you a new kit. And that was the last thing the cousin told me. And I want to say that was over a year ago. So I may need to hit them up and just be like, did you ever do that? Because they might have done it and have the results and just forgot to tell me. Yeah. Uncle who it is childhood injuries so that he could join the army. I feel like so many people lied to join the army back in the day. I had a great uncle that was in World War I and came back with mustard gas problems. Yeah, it's sad. Puerto Rican ancestry. So I've actually considered for future episodes of YouTuber Family Trees of doing segments similar to Finding Your Roots where I present the information to the guest in person. And I'm already talking to a few guests about doing that, basically setting up time to meet them and all that. The only issue is I don't really have a studio designed for that, so I'd have to find somewhere, find the equipment, find the people to help run it and all of that. So it's like kind of a lot. I mean, I guess I could probably do it a little bit more more bare bones, but yeah. So now we're talking Korean War for his grandfather. We're not talking about Tracy Morgan. We're talking about Ramos. What's the best way to do a full Y DNA test and with what company? Best way, Family Tree DNA, Big Y700. The next best way, if you don't want to do Family Tree DNA, or maybe you want to do a lot of a whole genome sequence, Nebula is a good option. Beyond those, I mean, you can kind of get haplogroup information, but that's not really as helpful. The best Y-DNA test is one where you get matches, which Nebula Genomics does not give you matches, but you can upload it to YFull, which does. A couple of comments from Karma. My dad was at Camp Lejeune from Vietnam. He was exposed to Agent Orange. Had an uncle that was in the Air Force during the Korean War. Yeah, Agent Orange was messed up, and that affected multiple generations. So hopefully he didn't have too many issues with if he had any children of them, having born with deformities and such. Oof. Destination Orange, supposedly on the military base, lived on in the early 70s. That's hopefully you didn't get any effects of it. Well, that's very cool. That's I'm guessing DNA led you to be able to build out your family tree more so you could identify them. But yeah, that's cool that you're able to identify them. I gotta jump off camera for just a second. I'm back. So let's see, did I miss anything? Very interesting. You got a lot of very interesting recent history, Brian. Never had Northeast ancestors serve in an army, but during World War II, my male ancestors would have been fishing in waters where German U-boats were to be found. I know some Faroese trawlers were sunk by the Germans. Wow. Any recent ancestors, that is. Okay. Father was one of 17 children. He never talked about 14 of his siblings. Ancestry DNA brought to life so much for me. Crazy family. Well, yeah, I bet. I'm guessing you had a ton of like pretty close matches from those different siblings. If a lot of your cousins were DNA testing, that's pretty crazy. Talking about some of those Spanish colonies. Free land in Puerto Rico. Yeah. I've done a good bit of Puerto Rican genealogy, especially in my investigative genetic genealogy work. There were a couple of cases I did that was Puerto Rican stuff. One of the big ones that I can actually talk about is the Beth Doe Evelyn Cologne case, where it was Beth Doe is this girl that was found, or they couldn't identify her, and that was our job, was to help identify her. And she came from Puerto Rican ancestry, and when we first tested it, it came out as we only had access to one database at first, and we didn't have the best of matches there, but we had enough to start building stuff. And then when we had access to everything we needed, we connected with a nephew who had DNA tested. And so through that nephew, we were able to identify her. But before we had the nephew, we had a bunch of the other matches. And all of them were basically recent immigrants from Puerto Rico. So, yeah, I really don't talk that much about my investigative genetic genealogy stuff. And I've thought about whether or not I should do videos and stuff about it, but I kind of want to keep a lot of that real crime, true crime stuff off of here, because I feel like it's kind of a different audience, and I feel like there's probably a lot of my audience too who aren't really that interested in hearing stories about, gory murders and rapes, unidentified remains and things like that. Not everyone can kind of deal with that sort of stuff. So yeah. Let's not go down that dark route. Ancestry DNA introduced my family to a fourth cousin once removed. Her dad found out that the man that he thought was his father wasn't. One of my great-granduncles was his father, and he was a milkman. Oh, wow. So he really descended from the milkman. Yes, but great subject for true crime podcast. Yes, and I've been trying to find true crime podcasts that might want to have me as a guest, because I figured great way to advertise, the channel, while also having a place to be able to talk about some of that stuff. So, yeah. So, yeah. Get lots of messages on the phone. I mean, that's the truth, though. It's those milkmen, mailmen. Huh. Very interesting. So Tracy Morgan just found out that his great-grandmother left his great-grandfather for another guy. Julius Parker. I always like how they showed DNA in this. It's always so funny. It's cool, but it's like it's a cool representation of it. I'd love to have animations like that, but there's kind of something funny to it. Oh wow, he got 5% Jewish. Oh, that's what they're talking about. Oh, he said Ashkenazi. Could be Ashkenazi, but Jewish peoples of Europe is a better way to say it. So, okay, so they said a great-great-grandfather, which correlates because we'd expect about 6%, 6.5% for great-great-grandfather. So if he's getting 5%. Let's see. Oh, wow. So his second great-grandfather was Jewish. Hopefully they dive into the family tree. I mean, there's still a good amount of time left in the show. Oh, but they didn't figure it out. They didn't figure it out. Wiley Wharton. That's a cool name. Wiley Wharton. He was free. So his ancestor was listed in the 1860 census, so was free. Yes, definitely. They didn't figure it out. Also, Jarrett, challenge accepted. I do wonder if they had anyone try to figure that out or if they focused elsewhere. It's also possible by the time they had that figured out well enough, they couldn't really go deeper. Oh, interesting. So one ancestor free, but his wife not free, which I know was commonly the case. Like that was actually the case with Harriet Tubman. Was her original husband was free, and yeah, I mean I don't know the story in depth, but he was free, and I think would like visit her and stuff, but you know. Was limited based on the owners of, not the owners, the slave owners, the slavers. Oh, is it going to be a photo of the ancestor? Oh, it's a slave schedule. These are all enslaved people that came over in 1860. You can see record list all of them by sex, by age, by color, by Slave owner owned 71 slaves. Everyone's still watching along. been a little bit of quiet chat. I'm guessing everyone's really intently watching. This is quite an interesting spot. It's so funny seeing how the numbers just randomly go up. Hey, everybody that just joined. Just saw it just like jump up by like 10 people. So for those just joining watching, I was answering questions, but now we're doing a watch along with Finding Your Roots. You're not going to be able to see this through my stream. You got to watch it yourself through PBS. But as the show's going along, I'm commenting, which there's 16 minutes left. So yeah, tearing up at seeing the census. So right now the show's going into Tracy Morgan's ancestry and talking about his ancestors who were enslaved, where some of them were enslaved, but some of them were free. Gazillion in Portugal. Must be early there. What time is it? Like 1 a.m. or so? But thank you. Well, thank you for joining, chatting along. Right now, we're actually talking about Anthony Ramos and his ancestry tracing the 1480s in the Canary Islands. 144. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, 15th great grandparents. Holy smokes! Yeah, these are the ones where it's always kind of for me when seeing them, because it's like I wonder how strong the line truly is. Because I know I mean I don't know how the genealogists for the show do it necessarily, but I know there are some genealogists out there who kind of start giving a lot more leeway than they should once they start getting back into the 1600s and earlier. I find when I watch these shows and they start talking about these really distant ancestors, especially like 15th great grandparent, is just kind of like, okay, I mean that's cool, but once you get past 10th great grandparent, you're really reaching to the point where you have so many ancestors alive at that time that you can just find them. Whatever your general ancestry was, you can usually find ancestors that were a part of a lot of the history of that population group at that time. So, if he's Puerto Rican, it certainly makes sense that in the 1400s he's going to have, a connection to some sort of, the colony, and Cape Verde makes sense. Cabo Verde. Oh, interesting. So, an enslaved ancestor of his, born in 1480s. Jack. One of my dogs is having a nightmare right now. He's like half barking in his sleep. Baby Jack. Jackie boy. Little guy. Hey, Jackie boy. Hey, baby, you're having a nightmare. Come here, little dude. Come here. Oh, hey, Pete. He's tired. Maybe he was having a dream. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a nightmare. Hey, Pete, you want to come hang out with your papa? Come here. Come here. Hey, come here. Come here, little boy. Come here. Show you off to all the people all around the world. Come here. He's like standing just far enough that I can't reach him. I'm hoping for something exotic in my DNA. It's unlikely. I have an ancestry who was born in the heart of Chickasaw area in Mississippi, buried near the courthouse of the Chickasaw Nation, Oklahoma. Maybe you have some Native American ancestry. Peter, come here. Come here, little boy. What are you doing? There we go. Got a dog. Got a dog for the stream. This is Petey, everybody. You all haven't met him already. He loves me like a little baby dog. So that's basically what he is, even though he's about 3. Oh, they turn 4 soon. Don't you, little boy? Him and his brother. Yeah, throw some dog emojis in the chat for Petey over here. He's loving this. Dog on stream, your views will go up now for sure, yeah. Oh yeah. Look everyone, my doggy boy. You can kind of barely see him. I guess I really have to lean back like that. Petey. Petey. They like to go into what I call Jello mode. So you see, like look at his legs. He just flopping around. What could be better than dogs and genealogy? So I keep telling all these single girls I'm asking out. I'm like, come on. Do you want to hang out with me and my dogs and watch genealogy TV shows? That's cool. So, statue of Anthony Ramos's ancestor. Petey Pop. Karma Gal, that would be a good date. Yeah. Dude, you're just, he's like passed out. He's just in happy land right now. I took them on a nice long walk before the stream, and then I gave them a dinner, and I had some steak left over, so I cut it up and threw it in their bowl with their dinner, and they had a good time. I actually need to look in their bowl, make sure they actually ate all their kibble too. They like to, when I treat them like that, they like to eat everything except the kibble. Now they're showing the family trees now. I hope they're going to do one of the endings where it's like, we found this is your DNA relative. Tracy Morgan cried like the entire episode. He really opened himself up for that experience. Baby Jack, you doing okay? You look so sleepy. Come here, buddy. Come here. I didn't notice before, but he is rocking a massive ring on his hand, on his left hand. Can you all hear me pretty well when I lean back like this with the dog? The mic's kind of far away from me now. All right, that's it. That's the show. You can't hear me. So, all right. It's so weird with his head not showing. Beatty, he hangs his head back. He just goes and just like flops. He's sleepy. He's tired. Oh, he's really tired. He's really tired. I like 5 generations of Ebenezer Wrights. All right, I'm gonna turn that off. So, all right, cool. I might have to do that more often. So, I think I might just do a little bit of chilling and chatting with whoever's here for a little bit more if you all want to. So, some interesting stuff I haven't even said yet is that next week is Roots Tech. For anyone unfamiliar with Roots Tech is the largest genealogy conference in the world, held every year in Salt Lake City. For 2 years, they only had it on. What do you call it? Virtual, because of COVID, obviously. The next week will be this coming up. So if you've never heard of it, you might be able to make your way out to Salt Lake City in that time. Check it out. You'll be able to see me. I'm giving a couple of talks while I'm there. And then one of the companies wants me to announce an upcoming tool that I've been helping with developing. And unfortunately, the schedule that was available, I'm not available for that. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens if anything changes around. But the cool thing that I really wanted to mention with all this is I'm going to be trying a live stream at the conference. So I have a camera, a DJI Pocket 2. I think I'll only be streaming through YouTube. So those that like to, the very few of you that like to watch me on Twitch or Facebook, you'll have to watch it on YouTube. But I'll be walking around the expo hall live, answering questions, and maybe walk around elsewhere outside of the expo hall. So we'll have to see how that goes. The plan is that that'll be next Friday's stream. So Friday, March 1st, I think it is. Is that right? Let me see. I'm trying to click around while I got this dog boy in my arms. Yeah, Friday, March 1st. So that I think will be a lot of fun. Then, yeah, I don't know. And then next week, Tuesday, I'll be flying to Salt Lake City. So I won't be... I won't be, whatchamacallit. I won't be doing a live stream on Tuesday, but I'm going to try to figure out how I'll do the live stream, if any, next week. I might try to do it on Monday instead of putting out a reaction next week. Just do a live stream Monday. So, yeah, Brian, well, right now I'm using StreamYard. Brian said if you use StreamYard, you can multi-stream, which is what I'm using now. But the problem is that the apps that I have with the camera. I was trying to figure it out how I could do the live streaming through StreamYard, and I was looking it up so many ways. I could not figure it out, and it seemed like the best way for me to do it, the easiest, was just stream through the app that comes with the camera that streams directly to YouTube. It doesn't do multi-streaming, so yeah. Poor Lightning fan can't understand how to use Discord. It took me a while to get used to it. I first joined Discord, I think, about 2.5 years ago or so, maybe 3 years. You know, it was one of those things where I was doing some sort of project and people were like, well, we can base it around Discord. And so I kind of, slowly worked my way up. But I remember I originally hated Discord. And slowly, as I kind of started to realize what it was and how to use it, I liked it a lot better. So it's not like something I like obsess about being on, but I am on it a lot, just mostly because my own community on there is actually pretty active. So, if you do have questions, a lot of our admins on there are pretty okay with helping out and understanding. So, yeah. So, Jesus, dog is just so tired. Baby Peter, I think I might need to put you down on the couch. I always like how when he lies like this, if I laugh, you can kind of see he was jumping up and down. There wasn't a preview of next week. Yeah, they might not have one next week. I don't know. There always seems to be kind of a break in the schedule. Yeah, no, I mean, Brian, I totally understand where you're coming from with the StreamYard stuff, but I don't think there's a way for me to use my DJI Pocket 2, not the phone, because if I use a phone, it's going to look bad. It's going to look bad. So I have a camera that's, 4K, and although so yeah, it's just going to be through YouTube. It probably works out for the best anyway. So, Deb's 2 a.m. there. Thank you for sticking it out. I know it's late for all of our folks in Europe, although I imagine a lot of the people in the East Coast on the U.S. were enjoying this, because for them, I'm usually streaming in the middle of the work day. So, yeah, I might actually, let's see. Yeah, I've been streaming for over 2 hours now, so maybe I'll just call it here. So, yeah, but yeah, so Friday I will be doing a regular stream on the main channel. I think what I might be doing, I might just be kind of choosing a celebrity myself and choosing Little Dicky. For those who aren't familiar with him, he's like a, rapper, comedian, actor. He's got a big hit show on FX. He just released a new album, and he's got all sorts of stuff going on. And I thought, for one, he's Jewish, so that'd be a really interesting tree to build out, because I could dive into some Jewish records. But two, I figured that's one that I haven't really seen many of the, I don't think any of the other genealogy YouTube channels would really want to, I don't know if they'd focus on doing a Little Dicky one. So, but I kind of want to do a range of celebrities, really hit all sorts of communities of people that may not really know they're interested in genealogy, but I imagine there's a lot of people who like Little Dicky that may end up watching it being like, oh, you know what? I really like genealogy, and getting into this stuff more. So, yeah. So, okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for sticking around watching me watch Finding Your Roots. And possibly you were watching along too. So hopefully I'll see you all in the upcoming streams, and especially when I do the live stream from Roots Tech. So good night, everybody. PD says good night. Jack says good night too down there. So we will see you all in the next one.